Hi, my name is Joe Mallon. I'm the director of Island Coast High School's Academy of Natural Resources. Today we're going to take a tour of our really cool program on sustainability that we created here at Island Coast. I run the Academy of Natural Resources here at Island Coast High School. Our focus here is on sustainability, or the sustainability through aquaculture, aquaponics, alternative energies, hydroponics, and environmental stewardship. Basically, we started this program in 2006 when the high school here was brand new. We were in portables, and my principal came up to me and said, what is the most important or the best lab that you can make for science in general? So after talking to my partner for a little bit, we came up with the idea that the most important thing in the world today is sustainability. We must be sustainable. So I said we had to teach sustainability. So at the time he said, well, what is sustainability? So basically we took two pools, threw a hose over the side, ran it across vegetables, and showed them that we could feed the cafeteria. From there, he gave us the go ahead and make the Academy. The Academy is an awesome program here. What's been most successful is our goal from the beginning was to show that we could be completely sustainable, run a business, and make a profit and take absolutely nothing from the planet whatsoever. By that I mean we use aquaponics and hydroponics and alternative energy. So basically we take fish, we raise fish for sale, we use the wastewater to grow vegetables, we sell the vegetables, we run the whole thing off of solar energy, and we collect all of our own rainwater. What's different here at the Academy of Resources is honestly that instead of just teaching it, our students are doing it. They're hands-on. If you look, as you go through this academy, you're going to notice that everything here my students have physically built with their own two hands. As they come through here, they don't only learn in a book-wise, but they actually go out and do it, whether they're making a hydroponic system, whether they're doing some plumbing, whether they're doing electrical work. They have to do their book work. They learn all the coursework, and what you find out when kids are hand-on and they're a part of it and it means something to them, that they naturally do the book work, they apply the book work into whatever they're creating and whatever they want to build, and our end goal to show sustainability. The program is always morphing. You know, it goes from small, what we can do, the kids build it. We pretty much now have proven that we can run this facility sustainably, and by that I mean we're self-sufficient. We grow our vegetables, we grow our fish, and we make a profit. So our goal now is to take the word out even further, because what's the use of just teaching sustainability and knowing that we can do it? If you have one person that knows it, then that person teaches two or three, and those people teach two or three. It's exponential. So our goal now is to teach as many people as humanly possible about sustainability and how it's very practical and can be used in everything you do. Hydroponics is a really good example of how you can be sustainable. Water, we need to conserve water, and also to help protect the environment. By that I mean hydroponics is perfect for controlling the exact amount of water a plant needs and nothing more, and it also gives the exact nutrients that it needs. You can control it all, you don't have any runoff into the environment, which of course can cause a lot of problems further on. Hydroponics is all different kinds of hydroponic systems here. Right here you're looking at two examples of an NFT system. NFT stands for Nutrient Film Technique. Basically what this is, you have a reservoir, that big tank there at the bottom, you have a reservoir filled with the water that you need and also the nutrient solution. So you get the nutrients, you add the water, and then basically what you do is you simply pump the water across the plants, like if you look down here, it's pumped across here, down here, until it goes back to the reservoir. And then basically what it does is it just allows the nutrients to go across the roots, where the roots, if you'll actually look at the roots here, all right, I don't know if I can pull this out enough, but if you look at the roots, let me grab another one over here. What you have here is the root growth here. You just basically want a film of water going across the roots so that the plant can then uptake the nutrients, and that's all it needs. You don't use any soil. No, the only media you use is what you're growing it in or something besides soil. All right. So the advantages in this, and for what we use here at the Academy, is it shows you can grow plants, look at this is amazing, with just exact the amount of nutrients it needs, limit the amount of water, and it's a much quicker growing rate. We use a fraction of conventional farming because depends upon the type of conventional farming, but if you're using a sprinkler system, they'll run that for 30-40 minutes. The water will spread everywhere. You're not only watering the plant, you're watering everything around the plant, the ground around it, everywhere, and it goes into a lot of different evaporation. You don't even get evaporation in the system. Well, first off, the first thing they're learning is about the biological systems in general, from the plants itself, what the plants need, how they grow from the time you add water to it, to they germinate, to the full growth, the to bloom and what you do with the residue afterwards. So we don't waste anything here. That's as far as biological. You can do the chemistry of it, okay, because of the exact nutrients, whether it's you're talking about the macronutrients or the micronutrients, you can control all that. And on the other hand, like I said, my students build most everything here, and then not only are they learning about the concepts, but they are building it and putting it to practical use. Basically, all my year one students, part of what they got to do, they actually have to make a system. They have to design it, make it, research it. Let's start with like this system right here. This system here is a simple NFT system. If you remember, an NFT system is a nutrient film. Basically, you got a pump, pumps the water over here. It's actually pumping from here across all the way around and back into the reservoir. Again, the reservoir is right here because it's 5 gallons. We know exactly how much nutrients to make. This gets recycled for a while, and then every week they test it to test the total dissolved solids to know how much nutrients you have to add. Okay, if you look behind here, this system here, this is an NFT system that my year 2s made because their goal, they wanted to make something on this wall right here that could feed the school. Basically, they have 96 holes just like this. They had some basil growing here. Now what happens here, we did a whole wall of lettuce, and they were able to feed the school in 6 weeks, give the school the lettuce they needed in 6 weeks right here. Even though this doesn't look like a whole lot, this isn't student work, but that is an ebb and flow system. This is how we germinate all of our plants here. But if you want to pan over here, if you want to come over here, these are some simple systems that the kids decided to make. Basically what they got here is just a reservoir. They have a pump in there, the hose coming across here. Basically, the idea is they put the micro tubing in here, they put the plants in here, and hopefully it'll start to grow for them. This is the same concept with another student. They did the same thing. This is again the same thing type of system. This system here, they just took a 5-gallon bucket, put the holes in there, put the plants in there. This system, one thing all of these systems have in here, if you notice, they all have an air pump. The air pump is into the reservoir, and that gives the roots the oxygen in which they need. So this is one of my these are some of my first year projects. If you go out back, there's even more. Like I said, every year kids have got to decide what they're going to build. They got to figure out how they're going to do it, and they get graded for it. This is kind of like their end of year project. Part of our program is aquaculture. The aquaculture that we're focusing this year is tilapia and macrobrachium. This is a tilapia system. This is our breeding area right here. We're basically using burial vaults of all things. It's an industry standard, and we breed at the top tanks, and then we start raising them out here. As you can tell, they kind of like to go a little crazy with the food. But what happens was, as you're feeding them the food, then they're starting to process it. They process the food and they give off a whole lot of ammonia. So this is a recirculating system. So by that I mean, again, it's all about water conservation with us here. So basically we're just using the same water all over the place instead of having water run through. A lot of systems are run through a flow through system. We recycle all of our water as it goes through here. Over there we have a biomechanical filter which actually takes out the solids and have the bacteria that clean the water. So basically what happens here is you have your sumps down here. We have a pump, pumps around all these, pumps the water in here, and this diffuser right here. I set the water levels with this diffuser. Wherever I put this diffuser, it sends the water back into the sump, and then it gets pumped into the filter. We're about 5,000 fish this year so far. After the fish get a certain size here, we take them to the outdoor pools. We have 2 large 16-foot pools that we use for grow out. And once they do that, after about 6 months, they're ready to harvest at between 1.5 pounds and 2 pounds. We also have an intermediate area that we grow fish outside that basically for the consumption of the fish here at the school. So we have right there in the patio, we have a couple smaller, they're about 1,000-gallon tanks, and we put the fish in there, grow out basically for events that we do here at the school. All the kids, they grow these out. We actually raise these from fry. We breed them. Tilapia are mouth brooders. And so we breed the fish, we raise them out. The kids take them to grow out. They move them, they grade them, take them to grow out. They harvest them. Okay, then they process them to be sold at different, we actually sell them at different restaurants here as well as to people in the district. And they also collect them, we also sell them wholesale. As you can see, we don't just have 1 or 2 vaults here. We actually we have 11 of the burial vaults, and we keep about 250 to 300 fish in each one of them until they're ready for grow out. So basically you just got to come down here, feed them out real quick. This is our breeding stations up here. It's the end of the year, we're shutting down. We're not really trying to breed anymore this year. But as you feel, like I said, the water gets pumped down here, returns here, and goes down to this sump, to this filter. Let me show you something with this filter. This polygeyser filter just dumped the solids. See the beads here? That's basically the bacteria condominiums. What just happened here is the pressure built up. It dropped all of these beads, dropped to the bottom, and they sit down here, and then the pressure from the pumps, when I open this up, you get all the nasty solid water coming out there. So that's 5 gallons of water that we just put in there right now. As you notice, as it ran through it, it got clear. That's clear enough for right now. But a lot of people just throw this waste around, but we're all about sustainability here at the Academy of Natural Resources, so we don't like to waste any bit of this. So if you want to follow me, I'll show you what we do next. So we bring the wastewater down here, and what we do is we grab a 15-gallon plastic jug, drill a whole bunch of holes in the bottom, and I go to a local restaurant to get some burlap bags that they use for peanuts. What I'll do is I'll put the burlap bag in here with the 15-gallon drum. I put it on a milk crate there. Now, if you notice under here, the pores or the space in the openings of the burlap bag is fairly large, and then what we use is a sheet. Basically it's a membrane. We're using this as a membrane. It's tighter. So what's going to happen, I'm going to put the wastewater in here. We're going to collect some of the solids. Whatever other solids go through is going to get caught up on the sheet. So what we do is take the wastewater, put it up here, and just dump it in this 15-gallon barrel. Just like that. All right, so what happens is the solids, the water is able to pass through, and then we collect the solids. So what happens is the good water flows through here, and then what we have down in this bottom 55-gallon drum, we got 2 pipes going in there, and then we collect the nutrient-rich water. And we use that nutrient-rich water in our outdoor vertical hydroponic systems. So what we do is we take this over here, we pump it into another 55-gallon drum, and we put it into a 250-gallon tank with our nutrient. That's our nutrient solution for our hydroponic plants. So after this, you can hear this draining right now, and then after a couple hours, it's this. See that nasty stuff right there? That was done earlier today. So what we do with that, the cool part about what we do then we put it into a solar oven, dry it out, and we have organic fertilizer that we can take to farmers markets, and we sell it for up to $10 a pound. We used to sell the nutrient-rich water, but our facilities have become so big now that we actually have to use it all. We have a hard time getting enough of it. So here we're absolutely wasting none of the water whatsoever or the nutrients. So everything here that we do here from A to B, we're using every part of the product and eliminating as much waste as humanly possible. These are the fish that we bring from the indoor lab where they're in the vaults. This is the area I was telling you that basically what we do for these guys here. We grow these things out for consumption here in the school. Basically, these guys here will be eaten within the school itself, whether it's for fish fries at a football game or sell to the staff. This is what we use strictly here for our personal consumption here in the Academy. And yes, they're going crazy. They love dinner time. So we take the high nutrient water and we put it into this 250-gallon tank here. And inside this tank, there's a pump. And basically the pump is on a timer. We're at the end of our growing cycle. It's the end of the school year here right now. So we're getting ready to do some of our last harvesting. But basically what this system does is the timer comes on, it'll pump water through all these different things. Here's some lettuce that's just going in. These will be the last thing that we harvest for the year. We have some peppers growing over here. But what's cool about this system here is the water comes down here. We run it for 2 minutes. It uses only the water needed for the plants. There's no excess water that's going out into the system or anywhere else that it can run off into our canal over there. We don't want our nutrients to end up into the canals, which can cause algae blooms. So basically, this system here conserves water, maximizes the nutrients in which we have, and we have no runoff into the natural system. Now this system, if you look at this system right here, this was actually created by one of my students, CJ, and Well, here's CJ right here. I'll tell you about it. CJ, what were you thinking? This was your project in the beginning of the year when we started to decide that we wanted to feed the school. Tell us what you thought when you designed the system.
Well, I wanted a system to where we would be able to stagger it to accomplish our goal of feeding the school. So I did it in a sort of way to where it was limited by 10 rows, oh not 10 rows, but 10 pots in each row. That way we could stagger it from the lettuce that we're creating for the school. And this, we made it to where it will drip down and it won't disperse off into the lake and release the nutrients. And it goes to where we can still supply the school in a large amount.
So by staggering, what do you mean by staggering?
Well, by staggering, we have to provide the school a certain week with a certain amount of lettuce. And with that, it's 90 heads of lettuce a week. With this, we produce around 60 heads of lettuce a week. And by staggering, we can harvest each row every week. So the first week, we're gonna harvest the first row. And then the second week, we're gonna go to the next row. And then we're just gonna keep doing that. And then by the time we come back to the very beginning, it's all gonna be ready to go again. And then just keep moving down like a cycle.
Tell me about this different valving you did here. What's with this valving?
Well, the valving was made to control the flow. Just like when staggering, you are gonna have mishaps maybe to where maybe you didn't germinate for that row. Well, instead of wasting all the water and having it go into the pots and just sitting there, you can valve it while like shutting it off and then stopping the water flow. That way the water is not wasted.
This is just an example of some of what we're harvesting right now. Basically, what do we got here, CJ?
Well, we have tomatoes, which pretty simple to grow. They grow really well in the Vertigrove system. You have bell peppers, orange, red, green, which also grow really well. And then the beans, which
what
grow.
Are these?
These are dragon lake beans and dragon tongue beans, and they grow phenomenally. So, and they're amazing.
Yeah, these are amazingly sweet. You eat these things, it's almost like candy.
It's really good.
I'm not joking. If you come down here, when the kids come out here to work, they just eat them nonstop.
Yeah.
We cannot keep these things on no matter what.
It's like a second lunch.
And just like the tomatoes, we can't keep enough of these tomatoes around. If the kids aren't eating them, well, we're supplying between 9 and 15 pints of these a day inside the cafeteria. So these vegetables are amazing. This is a basic aquaponics system. Basically, we've already talked about hydroponics, we talked about aquaculture. What aquaponics is the combination of the aquaculture and the hydroponics. Basically what you have here in this tank here, I have about 30 fish. Inside the fish, of course, they're doing their business. As we feed them, like I said, they eat it, they release a lot of ammonia. Okay, if the ammonia actually becomes toxic to the fish after just a short little while. And so what we do here is we simply use biofiltration. This system here is a store-bought system you can get from Pentair. All right, this system comes as one complete system, and it's basically my demonstration for my students. When my students come in the first year, they have to learn everything in the lab. So this is our lab unit. What happens here, if you look at the way this whole system works, okay, I love this system for one reason. It uses something called an airlift. If you notice, we have no pumps here. So we run this whole system on just a little tiny bit of energy used from one air pump. So what happens here is, as you watch over here, the water is in here. I'm going to walk over here. And what happens is, through simply a siphon, as if you're going to siphon, you guys remember back in the 70s, so you kids are too young to remember the 70s, but back in the 70s we used to have to siphon our gas. Basically, the tube here, the water level is higher here than here, and so the water will find its equilibrium. So when the water comes up here, it takes all the solids. This is called a clarifier. If you notice all the solids there, what's happening, it's exactly what you think it is. So because this is more dense than the water, it stays behind, and then the water goes down into this tube, and I got this filter here. So it flows down into here to the first stage of filtration. Once again, like I told you earlier, this is basically a bacteria condominium. Okay, the bacteria is a two-phase system here. We have two types of bacteria that we use here. Now, if you notice, remember I told you that it's ammonia that comes out of here. So the first bacteria that we use is called something called nitrous ammonis. What nitrous ammonis bacteria does, it changes the ammonia into nitrates. But the plants can't use nitrates yet, so we have to filter it one more time, and we have another bacteria called Nitrobacter bacteria. Now, the cool thing about Nitrobacter bacteria is it takes the nitrates to nitrates. Now, what a nitrate is, that's plant food. It's some of the best plant food you can get anywhere. So what happens after it goes through the filter, I use an airlift. If you want to look at this, if you notice, again, notice there's no pump. All we have is a little bit of air. This is great physics, by the way. The air down there, the water comes into this pipe, the air goes through there. As the air gets to it, it becomes lighter, less dense, and the water gets popped up in through here. Now, as you can see, it flows from here. You got the nice, beautiful roots for the uptake of the plants. So the plants are taking up the nitrates. They're purifying the water, just as if you were in a pond somewhere. Okay, so now you're having, so basically you're going from ammonia, nitrate, and nitrites to nitrates. The plants are uptaking the nitrate. They grow really nice. This is nice basil. We've been harvesting this basil now for over 4 weeks, maybe even 5 weeks now. So the basil grows, then from there it returns back into the filter. Again, this is the greatest part of this whole system, is that we're using almost no energy. The Academy of Natural Resources is all about conservation of energy also. So basically it flows down in here, an air line goes in here, the water becomes lighter than the air makes the water lighter, it flows up into here and flows back into the system. So basically where all this system is basically a pond. We're just totally mimicking nature. And as you already know, the planet's been here a really long time. The best thing we can do is mimic it. Like I said, one of the major things we do here is aquaculture. And every year I like my students to come up with at least one new product besides fish. So this year, the students decided they want to do macrobrachium, which is freshwater prawn. So if you look at these guys are a little teeny tiny fry. Now look at them. This guy's here, he'd grow even bigger if it wasn't for the fact that he's growing to his environment. We have a couple tanks here of just the macrobrachium, and let's see if he's going to eat. These guys are kind of strange. In order for them to eat, you got to literally hit them right on the head with it. So what these guys here, we're getting ready to harvest these. Actually, these guys will be on the plate tomorrow night. I have one of these vaults here has over 300 of them. It's the end of the year, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to sell these guys for some fish feed for the summer since we're closing down. This guy's going to look. He's ready. Yeah, I could tell that one was going to eat. Anyway, so basically what happens here, my criteria for my students, no matter what they grow, they have to be able to produce something. I'm their boss, so they got to make me money. Then the way they got to make me money is the product. And one of the hardest things about this is the kids actually get attached to these guys, and it's kind of hard to think that, you know, what you've been raising for a whole year and tending to are soon going to be on your plate. But they have learned, they've got adjusted to it. And like I said, this will be on these guys here. Tomorrow night will be on somebody's plate. And like I said, everything at the Academy, I like to have our kids do hands-on. Our year threes, we're all charged with making an aquaponic systems that they can use to take home to feed their family, grow some fish, grow some vegetables. This is Emerson's system. Some are good, some aren't so good. Tell us all about your system here, Emerson.
Okay, I did a NFT system, but instead of doing one solid tray, I decided to do 8 individual trays. It worked great at first, but when we put weight in it, the center right here decided to go down, and I had leveling issues where the water decided that water didn't decide. I messed up, and the bottom, and it floods here, but doesn't get enough water up here to go from tray to tray. So this tray and the one down there get plenty of water, but the rest don't get enough water, and it doesn't make it back down into my fish tank.
So when you take this home for the summer, what are you going to do to improve it?
I'm going to level each individual tray and start this one at the highest and do it like slope down and then slope down and then make the slopes a lot better.
Okay. So the concept is good. So basically you get your fish underneath and the tank underneath, pumping it up here. The idea was it was going to run across the medium. Where did the bacteria grow here?
In my gravel.
Yep. The gravel itself is your bacteria bed. So the system is going to work really nice once you level it out right. So you did a good job. Your concepts were all good. It's just sometimes things don't work out, and you learn best. Sometimes just learn best from your mistakes. As part of the academy, all the students get into groups, and they got to make the different home aquaponic systems. This one here, CJ and his groups. Basically, tell us what your thought process was when you created this one.
Well, I wanted a system that would grow a lot of plants, and it would work relatively well. Starting with the fish in the bottom, release whatever needed for the plant. It goes up, goes into the rocks, bacteria land inside the rocks, and the plants soak up the nutrients that they would like. It worked. It's working, which is always a good thing, but there are a few things I could improve on. Not gonna lie, it is a work in progress. I'm learning as I go, so I'm not gonna get it my first time. But some things I could definitely do is I need more P-rock, which is the rocks in the bottom. That way I can increase the plant's height so all the algae isn't as abundant as it would be without it. And then I also need to build a shade structure. That way the water and the rocks, the reason why there's so much algae is because the sun is in direct contact. So if I were to decrease that sun amount, the algae would definitely decrease and it would look so much better. And the plants would grow a lot better. They'd be more green and it would look really nice.
Okay, so when you say you had to add more of the pea gravel. So, and how would that, so if the pea gravel's up and the water's at a lower level, the upper part of the pea gravel wouldn't be
it would be
moisture,
yeah.
so you wouldn't be able to, you wouldn't have the algae growth. Okay, so your concept is it raise the level of the gravel, okay, reduce the algae and at the same time put a shade structure over it and reduce some of the sunlight going in, especially in the summer system.
Yes.
So not a bad idea. This one actually works. It flows really well. This also runs on a bell siphon system. The water flows up, gets up to the top of the bell. Again, through, like we talked earlier, it creates a siphon, dumps all the water in, and the water is filtrated for the fish.
What's in here is the fish. I think we have about 11 fish in here, and they create the waste product, which is sucked up by the pump. And all of that gets sucked up, it goes back into the rocks, and then the bacteria changes it to the nutrients that the plants need, and then it all siphons right back down, back into the tub, creating a nice airflow for the fish to breathe, and it just reuses the water constantly, so we're not filling up it and then dumping it out, filling up, dumping out. With this, it creates a nice cycle, and as it goes through the plants, it cleans out the water, and then it's just an ever-going cycle.
One of my seniors that just graduated, this was his system that he's coming back for. This is a simple barrelponics system. You can look this up on YouTube anytime you want. He got the idea from YouTube. Basically, he's got about, it looks to be about 10 to 15 fish in here. He's covering the fish here so it don't get a lot of algae growth. So the fish are doing really well in there. And basically, he, again, very simple. He's pumping the water up over here. It's releasing the water deep into the gravel. He's got the levels set for different things. Basically, it looks like he's got some, his plants are growing really nicely. If you notice that in his system here, he's got enough gravel in the system itself so that the moisture isn't so great that he's not getting a lot of algae buildup. The plants are going to flower. These things will be ready to eat in about 3 to 4 more weeks. A nice simple system that anybody can do at their own house. YouTube, it's a wonderful thing. Aquaponics is a great way to produce your own fresh vegetables and get some protein at the same time. This system here is a larger version of an aquaponics system. It's a raft system. Basically, if you look back there, there's a 15-foot pool. Inside that pool, we have 3 cages. Each cage contains 250 fish that we stagger. Basically, like he was saying earlier, you put just enough fish in at one size, grow about 3 or 4 more weeks, put the next size in, and then next fingerlings in, they get bigger, and we rotate the fish. Basically, with the same general concept that we have everywhere else. It gets pumped in, we got the clarifier, we get the solids taken out. Again, we start growing the bacteria. This raft, we're about to shut down this raft. This raft, we're getting ready over here to do our summer planting. We're basically going to do summer squash over here. So like I said, the water comes back here over to the rafts. These rafts here, I can produce 96 heads of lettuce a week on it, and when we're optimum. Right now, we're shutting this system down over here to put plants in just for the summer to grow, to take up the nitrates. We're not going to use this at all during the summer. We're getting ready for our last harvest of what's lettuce is left. This lettuce is a nice little head of lettuce. We will be harvesting these tomorrow. This system here, again, like I said, our students build everything here. They designed this whole system. They built it. It took them about 4 weeks, 2 years ago to build this system, and it works really, really well to the point that we can actually harvest 96 heads of lettuce from this thing a week. Basically, not only do we do hydroponics, aquaponics, but we to compare the growth rate between hydroponics, aquaponics, and standard raised bed gardening. I allow my students to create raised bed gardens that each class gets 2 gardens. So basically what they do is they're growing carrots here. So what they find out really quickly is the difference between how long it takes to grow something hydroponically to a standard raised bed garden. Even if it's raised bed garden, we use only the amount of water We have a system here that only uses a minute amount of water, only the amount of water that the plants need. But what they've actually learned here is that it takes at least twice as long to grow the plants in a standard raised bed garden as it does with the hydroponic garden. Over there, we have a staggered tomato production. We're producing, like I said, anywhere between 9 and 15 pints a day from the cherry tomatoes for the cafeteria. Here, also part of being a part of the Academy of Natural Resources here at Island Coast High School, we really push being good environmental stewards. Years ago, we put up this osprey nest here, and every year this mating pair for the last 4 years have come out and made it and given us at least 2 offspring every year. One of the issues in Southwest Florida is the growing population down here, and particularly the development of the waterfront communities. What's being affected is a lot of the mangrove communities are being removed. Okay, what that does, mangroves are really important for our ecosystems here because they provide primary food for our estuaries, they provide protection for our juvenile fish, as well as storm protection for us as human beings. So one of the things we do here at the Academy of Natural Resources, all our students are in charge with growing 3 to 5 mangroves that will be used in a later mangrove restoration area to help our estuarine ecosystem. To top everything off, it seems like it's a bad cloudy day, it's not really great for solar energy, but what we did do is just get a whole lot of rain. We love the rain here because water we need, especially here in Florida, we have a water problem. We don't have enough water. We use it up way too much, particularly in agriculture. So one of the things we strive here is to minimize the amount of water we use for growing our plants. But what we do is we collect water. The rain that just came down just filled our 2 cisterns there. That cisterns is the water that we use to keep filling up the different systems here. So not only do we minimize the amount of water, but we collect as much rainwater as possible so that we don't have to take it from the different wells or from the aquifers or even from the city water. So we go sustainability full cycle here. We not only use water, we collect water, we minimize the amount of water we use, we breed fish, we raise fish for sale and to eat. We use the waste from the fish to grow plants that we feed our school and we sell, and we also give to different food banks. Part of our academy is a solar energy class. This is an example of this year's project that we took to a state competition. This is the Powerhouse Tool House. The students' concept was that in case of a hurricane, we get hurricanes down here in South Florida, the object of this is a mobile power station, 1 kW power station. Basically their concept was here, you put it on a trailer, you have a tool shed in here, which basically inside there's a tool shed. You hang all your tools, all your power tools. In the event of a hurricane, it can act number 1 as a generator, or 2, if your neighbors may need some help, you just tow this over to their house, got the tools, give them a helping hand during a hurricane. In today's world of exponential population growth, shrinking water supplies, and shrinking farmlands, it is more important now than ever to teach sustainability not only for our generation,
but for future generations as well.
Again, my name is Joe Mallon, and I'd like to thank you for taking the tour of Island Coast High School's Academy of Natural Resources.